platforms right now. But yeah, it's going to be a fun show. We're going to start with some hockey talk. I might be joined by a guest in a little bit. If not, I will break down all the hockey games from this week. And then we have a special guest the second half of this first hour, Josh Taerk. We'll introduce him more formally in a little bit. But I'm excited to have him on the show. We're going to be talking about this Show Heart charity event. If you are watching live on Twitch, you can see that we've got a little banner, a different one than we normally have down below us, and yeah, it has a live ticker from this raid train that's happening right now. And is my audio sounding okay now? There you go. Okay, I'm just making sure. Sorry, I was flustered and I set up like 3 streams at once. So but I appreciate everyone for tuning in live on Twitch and on Facebook as well. And we've got a busy show, as I was starting to say. We got Josh on at 9:45, maybe even a little bit earlier. We'll also talk about the Super Bowl. After that, we'll have our roundtable. And then we will talk about the Wizards, who in fact also have a live game. That scoreboard is also live on Twitch when that game goes live at 10 o'clock for our second hour. So we'll have a busy second hour talking Super Bowl, live Wizards, and their exciting week from last week. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate the love. Ant Dog and Carly and Tina French. And Champ is also in chat as well. I want to give a shout out to P. Burgess, who followed right before we went live. We are here sitting at 496. We're trying to hit 500 followers before episode 300 over here on Twitch. We're very, very close. So we're only 4 away. It's sort of a goal that I have. And yeah, so this is episode 299. This will be the last episode of the 200, which is kind of cool. Tonight during our hockey talk, I'll also showcase some of well, I'll try to show some of the video and footage from the hockey game that I went to with my son this weekend, which is unfortunately a loss. But you know, you can't. My first game was also a loss, so I can't blame my son too much. And so it's always a little frustrating to get a loss, especially after a really big win. You know, Carly's in chat, but her Bruins are doing really well this season. They had only lost 1 game in regulation all season at home until Washington came to town and we won a very tight game. And so we'll get into that in just a second. I was just seeing here if I will have a guest co-host for this segment, but it doesn't look like I will. So anyway, I'll start by breaking it down. Let me see here. I'm going to try a couple of things on the fly and see if it is working. And let's see if I can get some graphics and stuff up here. Let me just see here. Instagram. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do something a little bit different than I usually do on our Caps podcast, because usually we have a bunch of different guests. Let's see if I can share the screen, and we're going to show this, and we're going to show the Capitals schedule here. Show all the different games from this past week right here. So the first game was 2-1. Let me just see how that works. Does that work on the screen? Yeah, it does. So this was a really good game for the Capitals. I was really impressed by their play, especially, well, just the whole game. I thought they played a really quality game against the Bruins. As mentioned earlier, the Bruins are one of the toughest places to play in the NHL, and it was definitely no different. You know, in this one, sorry, my app is glitching out here. But yeah, so the first goal was by Nicholas Backstrom. It was on the power play. It was his second goal of the season. So that was a really nice one. It was set up by Marcus Johansson, his 15th. It was a nice play by Backstrom down low. Dmitry Orlov got his 15th assist as well of the season. And then Garnet Hathaway had a beautiful goal at 11:40 in the second period. The Bruins were able to get one back, but they were able to hold them scoreless in the third period. So I just thought it was all around. It was a very close, tightly contested game. Darcy Kemper made 27 saves, played really well in net. Yeah, it's just one of those games where you're like, wow, I can't believe we beat this juggernaut. Now the Bruins had kind of both teams had a week layoff, and the Bruins lost 3 out of their last 4 games, but they did win their last game before the break. But they had been really on fire, but it cooled off a little bit at the end there. But all 3 of those losses were on the road. So the Capitals come in, and no one really expects it, but they just, I think, really put together a quality effort approach to this game. They're able to put up. So I'm pulling out here the 23 shots on goal, and so that, that's pretty decent. I was pretty impressed. I was a little bit nervous because especially when you have these back-to-back games, it can be really, really tough for the especially the team that's going to have to travel, and we're going to have to play the Sharks, who hadn't played in a couple of days. I've also had terrible luck when I've seen the game up close, but I was very excited to get an opportunity to see this game. Let me see if I can actually share one other window real quick. We'll try it this way. Setting up some things here. And share screen. Does that work? Share my Instagram. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna take a quick look at my Instagram because I'll sort of be able to tell my story alongside of it. It was a really interesting game to go into this Sharks game. The Sharks are not one of the better teams in the league, but no team could be counted out. They had played a really tough matchup against Florida on Thursday, had a couple of days of rest. You can see here's my whole family. We're all wearing the jerseys to start the day. It was cute. Zara, we saw that Zach and I were wearing our jerseys, so she wanted to get in on the fun as well. Here you can see him on the shoulder of my dad. We're at the warm-up. So what's cool about the Capitals is during warm-ups, anybody, you got tickets to any part of the stadium, can come down to the lower level and see the players up close, and then you go back to your seats to watch the game itself. Now, we actually had amazing seats that were right next to the ice. It was really cool. It was also Youth Hockey Day, which is really a fun event that I was excited that he got to be a part of, because there was a ton of kids, as you can see in the crowd. I mean, usually all the kids do come down before the game starts, but a huge percentage of the crowd was kids, youth hockey teams. So there had a lot of different events for kids on the ice. Zach even at one point was like, well, I want to go on the ice. I was like, well, you got to learn to skate first and then join a team. So we're a little ways away from that, but I was really excited that he was interested in doing it. Here you can see Ovechkin with the slap shot, how he practices it during practice, which I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, so you can see here is where he was sitting. He was all really excited. And we're just a couple of rows back. So this area right here does not show the mouse cursor. Let me see, does this work? Sorry, I'm doing 2 computers at once, as I usually do, but I don't know if any of this can be seen. But yeah, anyway, so the area right in front of us is the area between the 2 benches. So it's kind of cool that we got to be sitting there, and all the people around us were super friendly, and he had a really great time. And so this is us walking into the building, and then here it is right before the opening ice. He liked the projectors on the ice, and it was just a really fun opportunity to go to a game with him and my dad. My dad took me to my first game 25 years ago. And so, we're dancing and getting excited, and the team's about to come out. And so that it was really cool to be a part of it. And if anybody has any questions in chat, oh no, Eddie Brown just showed up. Go Canes. Yeah, we'll get into that. And oh, Josh is joined in. And Josh, if you want to jump in, you can as well. I actually don't have my co-host for this segment right now, but how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to be in a waiting room or something, man. I didn't mean
No,
to like steal your
no,
thunder there. I was
no,
sitting
no,
here
it's good.
listening to the story.
No, I'm excited to have a co-host. I was originally going to have one, and he backed out last minute. So I'll
Okay.
talk to you about Zach's first hockey game. So I
Fantastic.
appreciate. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The Show Heart stream is in full swing. We were just hanging out in CT Chris Thompson Music stream, and he is absolutely crushing it.
Nice. I'm happy to
Yeah.
hear that. Yeah, we're gonna definitely do a live look in a little bit. And
Fantastic.
so yeah, it's I'm trying to see if this is coming through clearly. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, let me see if I can switch screens now that I've got two people in here and see if this
No
one's a
problem.
little bit smoother. But you can see here, me and my dad and Zach are watching them come out for warm-ups, and he was super amped to come to the game. I was explaining before, I don't know if you caught it, but unfortunately we played the Bruins, the number one team in the NHL, the night before, or the day before, less than 24 hours. And then they have the Sharks here, who had 3 days rest, ready for us at home. And so we call it a schedule loss, which is frustrating.
Absolutely.
But and I've lost every game I've ever gone to against the Sharks. I've lost every game I've ever sat on the glass. So it was not looking good going into it.
I
But we made
mean,
sure, but it happens. And so we made sure to celebrate let me see if I can get this to be full screen. Is there a full screen button on Instagram? I have
I
no
do gotta
idea.
say, I loved the video of your dad and Zach walking through the stadium and just kind of
Hmm.
hanging out for a little bit. That was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. Uh yeah, it was. Hold on, let me see. Does this work? Sorry, here we go. I think that works, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
that
was
looks
just seeing
pretty
if
good.
Facebook works. All right. So you can see here we got our one goal. So we made sure to like celebrate it really big for Zach, because we were already down 2-0, and I was like, this might be the only one we get. And I've been to too many shutouts, Josh, in my life, that I'm just like, I'm just so happy he scored one. And so yeah, it was a really cool goal. Let me see if I can slow it down right over here. So you can see Kuzi comes across the front of the goal mouth, and then he just flips it up and over the goalie and into the
Oh wow.
corner. It's kind of hard to see, but it's very fast. But you can kind of see him scoop it up over him there. So at least he got a really pretty goal for his first NHL, in-person goal. And so he celebrated it really big. I tried not to be too upset when we lost. And luckily it wasn't close, so we could kind of walk out when they got an empty netter. And I tried to keep my composure, and I asked him later, what was your favorite moment? And he definitely said it was the goal. So I'm happy that
That's
that's
great.
what he remembers. He doesn't remember that it wasn't a win. But yeah, it was a really frustrating game to have to play against the Sharks like that.
I could
And
imagine. Yeah.
they're not a good team too. So I was like, I had these envisions that they had bad defense. Maybe we could push it in the third, but it was just too frustrating and difficult. It's just, that's exhausting. I have to put together maybe their best performance of the year against the
For sure.
Bruins, and then it's a classic trap game right afterwards with the team laying in wait.
Well,
So
that's the thing. You fight so hard to take on the team that you're gunning for that team almost the entire season. And so you spend so much of your time focusing on that win. And then to have a game right after that, I mean, you've given everything that you've got in that 3 period,
and you got to
time frame.
travel, right? You got to get from Boston to DC.
Exactly.
So hold on. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I was
No
in
worries.
my ears, it went to the next video, and I just started blowing out. Luckily, I don't think that comes across on stream because I have it locally, but um
Absolutely.
anyway, it's just a jump scare. But yeah, so I mean, I'm happy we had the opportunity that my dad gets to go. My dad's going tomorrow to the next game. In fact, we have
Oh, that's awesome.
a Canes fan in chat, so it's a very good segue.
Lovely.
Carolina's been playing phenomenal all season. I don't know how much hockey you've watched this year. Have you been watching your Toronto team at all?
I mean, a little bit. I went to a game very early on in the season, and it was actually one of the few that they won at home, which was great.
Oh, good. They've been
But
playing well, though, I think.
they always so here's the issue with Toronto is that they always play really well up until the playoffs, and so they don't get a great position for like draft picks or anything like that. They do really well, and then they can't get past the first or second round. And
Yeah,
so
I'd be so happy to have 72 points right now, though. I mean, we're sitting there back at 62. So, I just want you to be at least, you have playoff positioning.
I'll take the 72 points for sure. I'm just like, I'm looking at it from the perspective of like,
you've had Washington every year, right?
Yeah, and like Washington has a pedigree of like, you've got grinders on your team. You've got people that like, if you're in that position where you're constantly working at something, that's the Tom Brady fourth quarter, we're down by 2 touchdowns kind of moment. Like you never count that person out, And
yeah. So real quickly, I'm going to let you give a little bit of an intro to our show, Heart. I'm going to share the hockey podcast to a couple of people so we get into more rooms on Facebook. And then I'm going to give a preview of the upcoming week for the Capitals, and then we'll go back into show Heart and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds great, man.
Change the graphic up on here so that you can have that. But yeah, let people know generally how it's been going and a little bit about Variety.
Absolutely.
And we also have commands that I'll throw in a chat as well.
Oh, that's awesome, Robbie. Thank you very much. Well, y'all, I again really appreciate being here. Robbie, thank you for having me on tonight. For the past 2 years now, it's been a really wonderful privilege of mine to be able to represent a charity that is so near and dear to my heart. Variety, the children's charity, has about 40 different locations in 11 different countries around the world. And this is the first time that they've actually come together. And instead of doing individual events and individual fundraising efforts for their specific city or their specific town, they're all coming together for a single cause. And that's to raise funds, raise awareness for the core of the mission that Variety, the children's charity, stands for. And there are a couple of different things that Variety does, but mostly it's focused around making sure that kids of all abilities all over the world have the chance to live their best lives and have the chance to be kids. Because often, whether it's, being faced with a rare heart disease, whether it's being faced with cerebral palsy or different levels of development, different levels of ability, these kids are put in positions where they're being asked like, okay, this is what, the rest of the world, quote unquote, expects that you're able to do. So fit into this box. And Variety says, no, we don't want anybody to have to fit into a box. If you need medical care that you can't find in your city, we will provide you with funds through fundraising so that you can travel to get the medical care that you need. If you need a wheelchair to be able to move around and hang out with your friends, we'll provide you with that wheelchair. If you're, in a wheelchair and you want to play hockey, phenomenal. We'll set you up with a Volt hockey team. They've got so many Paralympic and Special Olympic athletes that have come out of programs that Variety funds and Variety runs on a yearly basis. And the wonderful thing is that they take kids of all abilities from all walks of life, all different communities in the cities that they're in, and they bring them together. Because the whole idea behind Variety is that we are all better together. And so having volunteered with the Variety in my city, Toronto, Ontario, for many years, and seeing the wonderful enthusiasm to get behind a really, really important cause on Twitch, I kind of saw a marriage of the minds at that point, wanted to bring the two communities together. And the first year was phenomenal. We didn't have any expectation of what would happen or how many streamers we would be able to host for the event or who would want to participate. And it ended up being a 5-day event, 24 hours of music each of the 5 days, everybody raiding into each other, and every streamer and community just as excited as the next. So when we went into this year, after everything started to open up again and real life kind of started to take back a lot of the time that we all got to spend with each other on Twitch, again, we were kind of faced with a position where we were like, we don't really know what this is going to look like. We know what we loved about last year, and I'm always looking for that extra edge, like that thing that's going to push it over the edge, the thing that we can do differently or better than last year. And so when we got all of our streamers together, we were able to do 4 days, 24 hours a day of music again. So it was phenomenal, the response that we got from the Twitch music community. I said, I want to do something to commemorate this year. And I also want to provide an opportunity for everybody else to get involved with the charity in a different way than we were able to last year. So I sat down with the Variety team and I said, I think we should do t-shirts. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, I think we should make a t-shirt, almost like a concert t-shirt. Each year we'll have a different shirt. Let's send the streamers the shirts so that it's a united front, and let's make the shirts available to everybody that wants one. So if you want a Variety Show Heart 2023 t-shirt, we actually have links on a lot of the streams where you can go in and purchase a shirt, where all of the profits are going back into that same, raid trade fund that we're providing for all of these different kids and all of these different programs.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's such a great opportunity for so many different people to get involved at so many different levels, whether, all these different music streamers, they're just asking for like any donation, a lot of them, $2, $5, because it adds up. I was looking,
Absolutely.
I've been sitting in a lot of these streams, and even a $5 donation here and there can add up to a big number. I mean, I know people on our Facebook can't see the numbers or all that sort of stuff because we stream a different stream there, but we're over $10,000 down below on the Twitch stream. You can see it, and it's just really awesome to see all these different people from around the world come together. So people don't realize it's, I believe, 90 hours of continuous music that we're doing, where people are
Absolutely.
traveling the globe. They go through America, Canada, and then they travel all the way to Europe, and then Asia, and next thing they're in Japan, and they're in Australia. And because that way, these streamers that are on the other side of the world, they're streaming during their daytime while some of us are sleeping. And I know Josh doesn't get a whole lot of sleep during these 4 days. And there's been so many wonderful moderators. I know if people are listening to the audio podcast or on Facebook, they might not know what that is, but there's wonderful people that are putting commands out there that put links for people to donate, and they're the real backbone of this whole thing. Without people putting the links out there, sharing it with their friends, going to a lot of other streams. That's what I spend a lot of time doing, is I go to other music streamers that might not know this event's going on, and I say, hey, when you're done today, there's this wonderful charity stream that's happening. I'd love it if you could come check us out afterwards. And you'd be surprised, so many, even 5-10 people raids, it adds up. Maybe one person from that raid finds it in their heart to give something, and it blossoms and it becomes this really incredible thing. And they give to so many wonderful different causes. That's one of the things I like about Variety, is it's not just one thing that they're doing. They're really trying to help people from many different backgrounds, many different ability groups, and it's just a really wonderful thing. And I'm so happy that I've designed, again, on Twitch.
I was going to say, I don't know if a lot of
both.
people know what, not only is this guy going into other people's streams and saying, hey, come and join this, come and helping us organize the support from the rest of the Twitch community. But last year, when we were getting everything ready for the first ever Show Heart stream, Robbie had designed a couple of emotes for us. And I was like, hey, Robbie, everybody's asking if we could have an emote for this thing. It was like 2 days before the event. Do you have time to make something? And Robbie made the Show Heart logo that I've kept it in my stream because it's such a great emote on its own, but every streamer consistently uses that emote. It is like a staple part of letting everybody know what we're doing while we're doing these events. And like
Yeah, I love
Robbie
seeing it
completely like,
across Twitch. It's so cool
yeah,
to see these walls of hearts that are beating, in unison as people are donating. And it's just a really magical thing. And I'm just so happy. It's one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do, is to be able to make art that is animated that people could use to show their feelings about something. Like, it's something I never imagined that I would be when I went to art school, I never imagined that would be something that I would do, and make an
right,
emoji, as most people know them, but it's just really, it's fun to even watch it on the wall just go bouncing by or whatever, and it's just
fantastic.
really kind of cool. And I also, like, I made an alternate one, which is like a firework heart thing, which I
Which
also
is
really
still
like as
terrific.
well. And so it's cool that a lot of people can choose. Some people like one, some people like the other, some people like both. And it's been really cool to be part of the graphic identity of the raid, and the raid train. And I'm just so proud at how much we were able to do. I mean, last year, over
Absolutely.
$50,000 raised, a legendary number. And this year, over 10,000, and
Which
it's,
is like, considering everything that's going on in the global
yeah,
economic
it's amazing.
situation that we're in right now. That's huge. And
Yeah, it's really big.
like you were saying before, the one thing that I keep telling everybody, for me, the big wins aren't just the donations, because those are wonderful and that money goes to such incredible things that these kids and these families wouldn't have access to any other way. Um, and so that's a wonderful part of it. But on the flip side of it, the amount of exposure that Variety is getting through this, and just being in the streams and having 280 people seeing the work that Variety does, seeing these people talk about Variety, hearing the stories from the different tents and all of the kids that they're helping, that's huge for a charity like this, because you realize, hey, these people are in my backyard. Like, they're down the street from me. I could get involved in different ways. And just the international point that you were making before, I really think that Twitch changed the way that Variety looked at fundraising, and Variety looked at what they were as an identity, as an organization. Because you have streamers from, like you said, Japan, the Philippines, Australia, Germany, Spain. We've had like all four corners have been covered, kind of thing. But everybody in that stream is from a different place as well.
Yeah,
And
that's what's
everybody
so
that,
cool about Twitch, is it's so global. People don't realize that, 50% of it is Americans, and then it's like the other 50% is from all over the world, so like it's,
exactly.
and that's such a cool thing. Um, yeah, every day I get to talk to people on the other side of the world. I just think it's so cool that, like, you get this, that's one of the greatest things that kind of came out of the pandemic, was so many people came to Twitch, and I was able to meet so many people from all over the world. It's such a horrible thing to have happened, but it forced people to meet people that they may never
For
have
sure.
met. I mean, Josh, you and I have been friends now for almost 2 years, and like,
Absolutely.
like it that never would have occurred otherwise, right? And
For
it's
sure.
it's been pretty awesome to do. I want to bring in Gil. Gil is our hockey correspondent. I appreciate you for joining us, Gil. Let's get in. I do want to get Gil's quick thoughts on some hockey stuff, and then I'm going to let him go. And then Josh, you and I will talk a little bit more about this raid train, how it's gone today, what it looks like for tomorrow. And then we'll
Perfect.
also talk a little bit of football before we let you go
Absolutely.
as
Got
well.
to.
So you can feel free to join us in the hockey conversation, or you can turn off your camera and join us back after the other one. It's totally up to you. I'll let you decide what you want to do, but
Brilliant.
I'm going to bring Gil in now. Gil, we did quickly go over both games, and they were both really interesting games. We talked about how the first game, we put the best effort we've seen in all of the season, and then the second game was possibly the worst effort. And so, uh, what are your quick thoughts on each of those two games?
I wouldn't be quick to praise either one as a good effort. Although the Boston game was a very good effort defensively, but as the game wore on, I think they pretty much gave up on any attempt at scoring a goal from, I would say, 5 minutes into the third period on. But it was still a pretty good game. They managed to shut down the leading team in the league and limit their chances. It was a very good game in that respect. But the thing that concerns me about both these games is the lack of offense completely. And this team is in a lot of trouble if they don't figure out some sort of offensive lineup that can consistently attack, much less put the puck in the net. Now, of course, San Jose, that game, I don't know what it is about the Sharks, but the Washington Capitol just never seem to show up against this team. I don't know what it is.
It's so frustrating, Gil. Two of the most heartbreaking losses I've ever seen as a Capitals fan has now been at the hands of the Sharks. So I don't understand it. And their fans are frustrating. It's just it's all around. I was surrounded by their fans in some parts because it was right by their bench, but it was just they had so much time off. I just don't understand why the NHL schedules it this way. They did the first game right. They gave both Boston and Washington the same amount of time off, then play us against somebody else that's playing the day before, or have the game against Boston, a Friday night game, or I don't know, just there's got to be a way. I hate talking about schedule losses because it seems like a cop out, but it definitely feels like one.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that the scheduling is completely to blame here. I get that it's a back-to-back. I get that it's an early afternoon game. You have to find a way to get up for the game. You have to find a way to, especially after a great win, find it in yourself to bring the effort and do your job. And this team didn't do that, and it was extremely disappointing. And they should know by now that they need standings points. And it's
and they did it in front of the kids, Gil. That's the theme of the night, is the kids. And it was it was
the youth hockey
day. It was all kids in attendance. And it was just, and Zach loved it because well, first of all, I didn't know that when I bought the tickets, but I kind of thought it could be. There's not a lot of early afternoon games, and it's the day of the Super Bowl, and it's just a big sports day, and so it makes sense that is the youth hockey day. But there was whole teams, there were people jumping on the ice, kids were during intermission. Oh, one fun story out of it was this blonde, long-haired boy scores a goal in the game. They interview him after the game. They say, "Who's your dad?" "My dad's Nicholas Backstrom." "It's Vincent Backstrom who scored the goal for his team." And I'm like, of course it is, the long flowing blonde hair, the great stick maneuverability. I should have guessed. So I mean, he had a great day, and him fidgeting around, who cares? There's a lot of kids, it's a kind of part of it versus when a normal nighttime scenario, where it's late at night and he'd be one of the only kids there. So I just feel bad. It's show up for the kids, right? Put a better effort. But I have to say, sitting on the glass, I don't get a chance to do this very often. You have a totally different perspective, even if you're sitting 10 rows back, how fast this game is and how much it's a game of inches, Gil. I saw some bad plays that happened, but if the stick was an inch to the left, it would have been potentially a breakaway and a goal the other way. I mean, it's so crazy how fast they skate, and Connor Sherry blurring by the side. I was I almost the wind took me. I was holy cow. We watch it on TV and we try to engage with it, but when you watch them skate north south like that, it's really incredible, and it's I understand that we kind of say put a better effort on, but it's frustrating because in the first 3 minutes they actually were playing pretty well, and then they got scored on. And nothing that we had done right worked, and then they just kind of got a fluky in and a goal, and I felt deflated them for the rest of the game. They were just playing catch up, and it's just so unfortunate that something like that so early on can sort of snowball. But then it was only 2-0, and we scored, made it 2-1. We had an opportunity to make a game of it then, but it just it's a little too late, I guess.
No, it's wasn't exactly the best start. You should never ever give up a goal like that to start the game. And you're right, it actually absolutely deflated them. Lindgren absolutely should have had that shot, and when you do something, when you let something like that happen so early in the game, it is so hard to recover from that. That's why end of period goals are so deflating, shorthanded goals that you give up, things like that. You should avoid letting that happen to you. And it just wasn't a great start. And it was almost like at that point that most of the team decided to give up at that point. And it was a little bit of a wake-up call when Kuzi scored his goal to pull them within one. But then after that, they just didn't want to put out the effort.
Yeah, it was a beautiful goal, but it was not enough.
And the thing is, I really, really hope this isn't a telltale sign that the team has given up for the year. But
the fan base is so frustrating because one guy was like, the first game saved their season, and the second game lost them the season. And then I asked them this rhetorical question: are they currently in the exact same standings position before both of those games? Because if they are, then one didn't save the season and the other didn't lose it, because we're literally where we were, right? Like, so like, but it's so dramatic on a win or a loss. Like, we're in 8th place, like we're right on that bubble. We are at least still a playoff team. And as we know, it only matters who gets hot at the right time. So as long as we get in the top 8 seed, I don't really care where we end up.
Well, that's all well and good, but if you think about it, that's 500 hockey. Is 500 hockey going to be good enough to hold on to that spot? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, let's get into the upcoming schedule real fast. We got 2 games against Carolina, and sandwiched around a game against Florida. So the first 2 are at home. Tomorrow's game of Valentine's Day. My dad's going to 2 games in a row. I hope that he goes 500 on the week for his sake. It's against Carolina. We got some Carolina fans in our chat here. And then it's kind of like a warm-up game, a tune-up game for the really important Carolina game happening at the end of the week. Then we've got a game against Florida, who's not been as good as previous seasons, but they're always still a dangerous team. And then the last game at Carolina, and this is the outdoor game that's happening where NC State is their football stadium, and they've converted it into a hockey rink. It's one of the outdoor games. The Capitals are wearing a white with a weagle on front, which is the eagle that you can see on Gil's side of his jersey. And so exactly right there. And yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup. Gil, what are your thoughts about playing Carolina twice and Florida?
I'm trying to be optimistic again, trying to hold on to that. I think in both games against Carolina, even though right now clearly they're the better team, there's a good chance for an upset. I think Carolina might be looking past the Capitals, and if they are, assuming they are, that it's a good chance to steal some points, especially in the outdoor game. It's kind of funny. The outdoor games, I historically tend to favor the road team. You can blame it on all the
except for Washington, right?
Washington, we're right, except for when we hosted. The one time we hosted it, eked out a win at Nationals Park, but it tends to favor the road team. So I think there's a chance for some points to be stolen there. And Florida, you're right, they're not the team they were. They're not the juggernaut they were. I don't think that trade they made in the offseason did them any favors, the coaching change either. So these are 6 points that can be had, and if they can get all 6 points, then they're right back in contention for a division spot, which I think serves them a lot better. So these 3 games, these next 3 weeks until the trade deadline, are going to be very, very telling as to how the rest of the season is going to go.
So tickets are very expensive for this outdoor game. Eddie Brown in Twitch was saying he wanted to go, but it was $475 each, and those are the least expensive tickets he could find. So hot commodity for sure down in Carolina. It is a game I was desperately wanting to go to. I even have a 4-day weekend this weekend, but it's just too hard to leave the family behind and leave her to fend for herself while I go watch a hockey game. So I'm not going to go to it. I've always desperately wanted to go to an outdoor game. This is the 4th one for the Capitals, but I will have to watch it on the couch, so to speak. But I am very excited about it. But Gil, if people want to know more about Gil's thoughts on the first two games, the win and the loss, Anna and Gil have a great conversation on the Power Play Point podcast. If you go on to sportsothp.com and you right click the podcast partners button, open that in a new tab. For some reason, it's not working when you just click on it right now. But open that in a new tab, and right there, Power Play Point podcast link. Also, you can search for Power Play Point podcast on all the different podcast platforms. Gil, any final thoughts of what people should know about that show, or anything else you want people to know about before I let you go?
So we're on every platform that carries podcasts, including live streaming like Spotify, but definitely Apple Podcasts. Podbean's our carrier. Our latest episode was just published last night, and yeah, we do talk about the last two games. Trying to stay optimistic, like we said, but hasn't been looking good. So hopefully the trend carries upward again. But if anybody wants to catch us, we're on, again, pretty much every platform there is. And we record every Sunday. We invite any and all Caps fans who wish to come on, have their say, especially since it's February, Black History Month. Our African-American listeners and fans, if you want to come on, tell your story about how you became a fan, what it's like being an African-American hockey fan of the Washington Capitals, and living in the DMV and repping and such. You're always welcome to come on. We loved hearing from fans. We love letting you have your say, and that's what we're all about.
Thank you, Gil. As always, we'll have you back on for episode 300 next week. So I can't believe that we're there. I'm super excited to have you. And the plan is, since it's President's Day, CP3 is actually going to be off from his night job that has been keeping him away from this. And so we'll have the triumphant return, hopefully, of my podcast co-host, and back for that. So the three of us will break down those three games, including that outdoor game against Carolina, the indoor game against Carolina, and the Florida game next week. But I look forward to it, Gil, and I hope that you have a good week ahead.
You too, Robbie. Thanks again for having me on.
Sounds good. We'll see you next week. All right, Josh. For anybody that's new to the, just tuning in to the show a little bit late, let people know a little bit the brief, quick variety what they do. I'm going to do some commands in chat, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about today, how it's been going, and then we'll take a look at the schedule ahead.
Sounds great. So for those of you who are new to Variety, Variety, the children's charity, has over 40 locations in 11 different countries around the world. And what they're doing is they are working together with a global network of medical professionals, different providers of, whether it's machines, computers, educational tools, to help kids, no matter their ability level, basically live their best lives and have the opportunity to be kids and integrate with kids from every walk of life. And so whether, it's something like ADHD, or whether it's, a rare heart disease, cerebral palsy, all of these families and all of these kids that are trying to figure out how to live the best possible way that they can for their kid, Variety steps in and says, hey, we can help with this. We'll provide funding for, your medical expenses. We'll provide funding so that you can go and get the medical care that you need, or we'll help you figure out a way to get a wheelchair ramp for your school, for the community center. They have so many kids, at least in the Variety that I volunteer at quite a bit, that are on Taekwondo teams, karate teams, swim teams, and all of these teams are fully integrated with kids of all different abilities, all different skill sets. And it's wonderful to see kids being able to be kids. And that's what Variety does.
Yes, I'm just taking a live look in to see if I can do this. Does this work? I think we can get a live look in at what CT is doing. So they're about to actually do a raid right now, or in about 4 minutes. But it's been really exciting to see. Let me see if I full screen it, what happens. Oh, that does work. Oh, that's cool. So we got $10,081. And I see that Chuck Taerk over there gave a big donation. So I really appreciate your family for being such a big part of this for all of them. Like they all came on stream and they saw you. If people missed it, the first day of the show Heart was on Saturday, and you streamed one of the opening acts, and you had your whole family there, and there was a whole family sing along, and it was really cool, and people were really into that. Is your stream that you're doing on Valentine's Day, is it also going to include them, or is that going to be more of a solo thing?
No, it'll definitely still include them. My entire family is has been volunteering and doing work with Variety for a very long time. It's a very special place here in Toronto for our family. And it's also a wonderful organization that we've all kind of grown more connected with over the years. And so when I started to do this thing, I first went to my siblings and my parents and said, "Look, this is something that I want to do for Variety." And they said, "Great, like how can we help? How can we be involved in this as well?" And so every stream that we've done for Variety, they've played with me. They are part of the redemptions that you can get for certain amounts of donations. You can unlock different things that the family will then do with me on stream. And aside from that, as this has grown into a yearly thing, they really appreciate the effort of all of the other streamers that have kind of become part of the Show Heart family. And they really enjoy getting to see all of the different streamers like Chris Thompson, who has been absolutely crushing it the entire time that he's been on the stream, do their thing and hear the ways in which Variety means something to these streamers, and Variety has inspired these streamers to donate their time, their effort, and ask their community to get involved with the fundraiser. Again, for my entire family, the wonderful thing that we've seen that they became aware of while I was streaming on Twitch was just how global this community is. We were talking about the international level of Twitch before, but the fact that you can go into a streamer who's from Washington or from Canada or from Spain and meet people from all over the world in completely different time zones, all getting together to do something as a unit and as a collective is really cool. And when we were able to bring that to Variety and show them, like, I remember having conversations with the team saying, it's not as specific to the country as it might appear. Like, you have streamers from different places that are streaming into Twitch from wherever they're from, but the people in that chat aren't necessarily just from that place. And when they saw it and they saw all of these different people speaking completely different languages coming together to interact with each other, to hang out, to show that community involvement, that love for each other, that really inspired Variety to start thinking about how we can all join forces as a single organization. And so thanks to the wonderful Twitch community that's been involved in this for 2 years, and people like yourself, Robbie, Variety has started to implement different things that encourage the different tents to come together, create an idea, and see that idea through in global fundraising, which is something that had never happened before.
Yeah. Do they do other things with Twitch during the year, or is it mostly just through our raid trains?
I know Variety Victoria has done some stuff with Twitch. I think it's more focused on the gaming side of things.
Yeah.
But I know that they've done a lot of stuff with that, and they've been a huge help in figuring out the Tiltify situation because they were quite versed in how to do that.
Nice.
But yeah, like it's been really cool to see. I mean, being in chat with, a representative from Variety Manitoba, representative from Variety Australia, Variety Great Britain, you see people coming in from all of these different places. And it's wonderful that they're not only communicating with the streamer and they're getting involved with the community, but they're also talking and experiencing things with each other that are mutual as well, and that they're all enjoying. And so it really is, this. I always felt like the power of Twitch was in the global community that it inherently has. And it does such a wonderful job of bringing people together and encouraging that kindness that we talk about a lot and that we try and teach our kids and the next generation about. But Twitch is actually that place. And it happens on a regular basis. And to have that as an example for what is possible, that's why the Show Heart charity streamathon is what it is. It wouldn't exist without this community, and it definitely wouldn't be the amazing success in my eyes that it is without all of the streamers, the mods, the organizers, and the viewers.
Yeah, it's so
coming
amazing
in.
because so many different streamers each have their, a lot of our Twitch, we talk about it, the Twitch music family, which encompasses a large group of people, but every streamer has their own fan base, right? And each one of them is a different fan base. Some of them have overlap. I like a lot of different music streamers, but it's interesting to see some people may join this raid train and meet so many streamers that they've never seen before. Even I, who spend a lot of my time on Twitch, I've met so many new ones through this. And so it's a really cool opportunity. And I remember last year when we did it, that I met a bunch of these people, and then going forward, they were doing the same. I get to see some of them again. Some of them I unfortunately hadn't gotten to visit maybe, since last year, but you get to join them again for this, powerful moment. And it's just this really cool opportunity to meet people, whether there be the viewers from all over the world or, streamers from all over the world that you may not get an opportunity to meet.
Absolutely. And it keeps growing, which is really beautiful to see. I've had messages come in from different mods in different channels being like, hey, this is great. We're really excited about this. I have other streamers that would love to be involved, or I know people that really should be a part of this, or hey, you should speak to this person because they have a whole community of people that would love this. And so the fundraising Discord that Peter created for Showheart and for all of the other, what started out as one event kind of turned into a fundraising Discord for so many different causes and charities throughout the year. And the wonderful thing is the community of people in that Discord just keep growing. And the number of people that want to be involved in these things keep increasing. And we keep finding new people that want to be involved, and have a lot of return people that are like, anytime you guys are doing something, let me know. And that's a wonderful thing that you can't fake it, and you also can't ask for it.
It has to grow organically, and it really has. And it's a truly connected world of streamers, and it's not just music streamers, people that do a
Absolutely.
wide variety of things. And I thank all my moderators. They do such a big thing behind the scenes for me, and I try to return the favor and help out with all these different music streams as well. And
Sure.
it's just a really cool network of people, and it's really a family, and it really provides for lots of different organizations that need it. We've given back to so many different communities around the world through different ones. And so that's really cool. Oh, wow. That E flat guy just resubscribed. I have a Caniac subscribing to my channel. With two interesting games coming up. Ryan, that E flat guy is a good friend of both of our channels, and I'm actually one of his
Absolutely.
mods as well. And so I'm happy he is able to join in tonight. Let's take a look real quickly at the schedule, what we've done today and what we're doing tomorrow. And then I do want to pick your brain real quickly about some football before I let you go. And then
Absolutely.
I'll bring in my roundtable as well. So here was day 3. This is where we got left. We just were with Chris Thompson Music. They just raided over to October Ember Music, and we'll actually be joining them at the tail end of that stream. We will raid into them tonight, and then you can see here. I don't actually know the next streamer after that. Do you know anything about them?
I am going
It's
to.
Hans and Denise is their name.
Yes. So they are fairly new to they're at least fairly new to the Show Heart family.
Yeah.
But the few times that I've actually been able to communicate them through DMs, they are some of the nicest people. And they're going to fit right in as far as the vibe and the energy that this raid train has kind of created over the years. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. I always love duos, and I
Mhm.
love duos that are like a couple. And so
Yeah.
like this is going to be a very cool experience. I've never seen them perform
Oh,
uh
cool.
as of yet. So it's going to be brand new for me, but
So
the
that'll be at midnight Eastern time, for
absolutely.
people that are listening. So we will probably rate in just after 11. So we'll have 1 hour of October. Is that right? October Ember is music, right? October Ember music, and I've seen them before. They are fantastic. They are
Yes.
another duo, and they are very entertaining. And they've actually been really active throughout this charity raid train, being in a lot of other people's streams, which I appreciate that as
Absolutely.
well.
It's
Yeah.
it's been really cool to see that the other streamers that are involved in like the raid train, even if they were like, okay, my time is Monday and we were starting on Saturday, if they were doing another stream, they raided into the streamathon. Like
Right.
KR Acoustic, Kelly is phenomenal, and he's raided into the stream 3 or 4 times already.
Right. That,
Um,
I,
it's
I
just
love that
it's
you, by the way,
amazing.
I love that you put him. I just switched the graphic to tomorrow's graphic. I love that you put him last. For people that don't know, that are not listening or listening back on the podcast or on Facebook, KR Acoustic is known for legendary streams. One of my favorite all-time streams of his was Josh rated into him. I watched for like 10, 15 minutes. Then I was like, I gotta go do some stuff. I saw he was still on. I said, I'll lurk you overnight. And then I'll check out the VOD tomorrow. I wake up, he's still streams for another 6 hours, and then Josh starts his stream and we raid into Josh's stream, which I've never seen a circle
That
raid
was one
happen
of the
like that.
greatest things ever.
And he's done many other 24-hour legendary streams after. So people are donating a lot of money during KR Acoustic stream. I am sure he will keep going for as long as people keep donating.
I don't want to give too much away, but we've already had a conversation. Let's just say we had a conversation about, is there a limit?
Right.
And like, it's the old story. You don't put a saddle on a Mustang. Like
Right.
you just don't do it.
Exactly. So a brilliant move to put him last. And Josh will be performing as well. I believe you have the 2 o'clock slot tomorrow. And
Yes.
so that'll be great. And lots of other wonderful people. Andrea Cannon Guitar is fantastic. She actually streamed today at 10 o'clock. I
Yes,
think
she
that's
did.
cool that you gave her the same slot both days, which I think is kind of nice. So people will get to return to her fridge. And if you are a follower of her, you will understand that reference. And if not, then you should tune in.
She's got some great snacks.
Great snacks in the fridge, and a lot of other wonderful streamers. Got Luna Keller, Phil Smythe Music, Rick DeVoice, so many more. They're all on screen. We got Jeff Clark also streaming. I'm out over there as well. So just a wonderful, wonderful lineup. All the information is on screen right now if you're on Twitch, and it will end with KR Acoustic tomorrow. But Josh, what are your thoughts for Valentine's Day?
I'm very excited that we were actually able to end it on Valentine's Day this time. I think the last year it was kind of in the middle. Valentine's Day kind of landed in the middle, which was cool. And
It may not end on Valentine's Day if you have KR Acoustic at
I
the
was
end,
just
but
gonna say it could go on for another 3 weeks for all we know.
but
But that's I kind of liked the idea that like the final day as it was on Valentine's Day, because Variety's logo has always been a heart.
mhm.
And the concept around the streamathon, when we were trying to figure out when to do it, originally Variety was like, well, let's do it over Valentine's Day. I think that could be a really cool time to do it because our logo is a heart. And I didn't at the time kind of click into the significance of that connection, but seeing the response that the community has had to the raid train over the past couple of years, it really is a show of heart from the entire world. Like that's the easiest way that I can describe what happens on these streams and what we've experienced through this. just seeing the outpouring of support, not just from the streamers in the raid train, but like Carrie Ann raided into Jory just as he was going to go into CT because she knew that we were doing the Show Heart raid train.
Mhm.
And like that kind of good for good's sake is beautiful to see. And I can't think of a better way to go into Valentine's Day than with that kind of energy, that kind of enthusiasm, and that kind of, putting good out there for the sake of doing it.
I totally agree. I'm so excited for tomorrow. It's going to be a really wonderful day. That E-Flat guy says, in college, I went on a retreat that was based around service, and it was always scheduled on the weekend closest to Valentine's Day. It was called Give Your Heart Away, which I love that.
Love it.
And yeah, a lot of service projects do happen around this time of year, which I think is great. I think it's a wonderful time of year to give back. Valentine's Day isn't just about romantic love; it's about love in all different forms. And we're trying to teach my son Zach about that. He's got this is his first real Valentine's Day that he's celebrating. He's bringing Valentine's to his preschool
Nice.
tomorrow, and so that's really cool. And we actually just applied for him to come to my school for next year, so we just finished the application this week, which I'm very excited
Oh,
about.
that's great.
So it's cool to see him get to celebrate it and show love. And we did open some of his Valentine's Day things tonight because we wanted Liz's parents to be able to watch him open them. And so
That's
it's
awesome.
cool. And I think that the sharing of love, and especially as we talk about the importance for kids of all different types of learners, I work for a school who really embraces that. I know I don't talk about my day job very often, but it's an important part of my life. It's a school that I went to. It started off as a school for kids with learning disabilities, and that was what it was known for a very long time. It has kind of rebranded itself as a school for people who think differently, which is, which I can appreciate that side of it as well. And I think it's important to embrace all different types of people in this world. And you never know, being a teacher at that school for many years, I got to learn about so many different ways of learning. And there's not just one right way to do it. And I think that's really important, for teachers out there and for kids, and to understand that just because you're having trouble picking something up one way doesn't mean that you're stupid, or that you don't have the opportunity to pick up something at all. It's just you haven't learned the right way for your brain to pick it up. And I think that
Exactly.
everyone has potential. I think that it's important. Not everyone can do everything in the world. I don't want to say that, I'm going to be an astronaut, right? Like, but like, it's important to know who you are, but know that there's a way that you can build up your strengths and really shine and do something that you really love. I love being able to give back to a place that taught me about learning, and
Absolutely.
tell and show that light to that school, and bring people back in and say this is a special place for families, especially for people who are maybe felt down and out and felt that the last school didn't really work out for them. And here's a fresh start and a fresh opportunity. And I think that's what really drove me into this charity, that they try to give a lot of these same opportunity to kids all over the world, and it's just I think that's so really cool.
I couldn't agree more, man. Like everybody's got a superpower, right? And it's just figuring out what that superpower is, maybe even having somebody really close to you kind of show it to you in a way that you weren't aware of before. And then, as people, we have this wonderful opportunity during our time on this planet that we get to interact with all of these different people. We get to see things, and we get to, if we're open to it, see the way that we live our lives, see the things that we understand and how we understand them. And then we get to see the way that people outside of ourselves do things, see things, and the way that they understand stuff. And if you're open to it, it's you see their superpower, they see yours. And when you combine the two, you can really make a difference in this world.
Yep. So I do invite anybody who's watching this stream live on Facebook. There is a link for all the donation and all the information as well, up on Facebook as well. On Twitch, I'm sharing the link here and there. If you want to say something in the notes that the donation was from this podcast, and you let me know in chat that you've done it, I'm happy to give you guys a shout out live on this podcast while we're going live.
Absolutely.
And my
Robbie,
undying appreciation as well. So,
Robbie, if you get donation messages that you see coming through the chat, please let me know who those people are as well, because I would love to thank you on my stream as well coming up tomorrow.
that would be great. Yeah, I'll definitely we'll be checking it out for that. So yeah, definitely I'm running multiple streams at once. So please let me know with a highlighted message in chat if you have donated. And I don't have the alerts going off on here just because I felt like with the podcast it was going to be distracting. But I am happy to see that they are doing well. I am going to do one more quick live look in to see how it's going. And then I want to get your quick thoughts on the Super Bowl, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. Let me just pull up this and is this right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Is it showing up here? Okay, cool. Let me also see if I can get some audio. I'm gonna have to take off my headphones real quick.
If I only had one love, yours would be the one I It's peaceful, like heaven on a Sunday. Wishful, not thinking what to do. We've been calling it love, but it's a dream we're going through. And if I only had one love, yours would be the one I choose.
Let me see. Can you guys hear me if I turn it down and then we can have it kind of as the background music? Does that work?
Yours would be the one I choose.
All right. Well, I want to be wary of Josh's time, so I'm gonna stop previewing that. But we will definitely go and raid over to them in just a little bit. People were saying in chat that audio worked good, so I'm happy that did. I tried it last year and it worked, and so I was like, hopefully it'll work again. Josh knows that's never necessarily
It's
true.
never a given.
So, it's a hope and a prayer, and so it worked. So I'm happy about
Exactly.
that. But CT just joined chat, so I'm happy to see him.
CT, you crushed your stream, man. Seriously, thank you for being involved in the streamathon. Like, that was so much fun to watch, and you had everybody clapping and like dancing along with you, man. That was unreal.
That's awesome. So yeah, all right, let's get into some football real quickly. I'm gonna switch up some of these graphics here. We're gonna actually throw up our